Over 4 million people visit Arlington each year, many to honor veterans of Vietnam. Between 1965 and 1975, over 3 million servicemen and women served. Over 1.7 million of them were drafted, sent to a strange foreign land to fight in a war unlike any we had ever experienced before. It was a war with no battlefront. And for almost a decade, these brave Americans fought an elusive enemy across the rice paddies and in the jungles of Vietnam. In this savage guerrilla warfare, our troops suffered crippling wounds and traumatic experiences that would haunt them for a lifetime. Buddies killed, comrades maimed, Agent Orange, and nightmarish memories that linger. Vietnam veterans continue to pay a high price for their valiant military service some 50 years ago. It was 1966 when 23-year-old Jack Farley had just completed his master's degree and was drafted by the Army. 2 years later, April 1968, First Lieutenant Farley shipped out to Vietnam. Here to share Jack's experiences is my friend, the gifted actor, Gary Sinise.
I was with the 25th Infantry Division, the Wolfhounds. We were the wild ones, always on the front lines. Our mission was search and destroy patrols, crisscrossing rice paddies looking for Viet Cong during the day, defending ourselves from their ambushes at night. One night, soon after I arrived, they overrun our camp. I'm on the radio, frantic, calling in artillery. That's when I realize I'm calling in fire on myself and my men, as well as the enemy. I'm terrified, but it's our only chance to survive. A piece of shrapnel hits my hand, but I keep on shooting. 3 of my men die that night. Not long after, I'm joking around with some buddies leaving on a river patrol. Before they get 200 yards away, a rocket-propelled grenade hits their gas tank. The boat explodes, and I'm pulling their sodden, charred bodies out of the water. The most gruesome day of my life, and I'm only a few months in. Welcome to Vietnam. The horror and loss, it doesn't stop. A few months later, I'm at a support base in the middle of the jungle when the Viet Cong hit us with mortar fire. One round explodes next to me. Pieces of shrapnel stabbing into my body. I managed to crawl to some cover when a medic appears and asks me if I'm okay. I think about what John Wayne says, and I answer, "Doc, go look after the other men." I didn't realize how bad off I was. It took 5 pints of blood to get my pulse going again. After I was flown to Tokyo in a full-body cast, the gangrene set in. 104+ fever. A priest came in to give me last rites. I told him to get out. I wasn't ready to die. When I got out of surgery, I find my right leg had been amputated above the knee. That's when reality hit, and the tears finally came. I got 4 Bronze Stars. I was in so many battles, I don't even remember what 2 of them were for. And 2 Purple Hearts for my time in Vietnam. It was an honor, but they didn't help much during the 14 months I was at Walter Reed Hospital. Almost a year just to get my stump ready for a prosthesis. Multiple painful skin grafts. Endless hours of physical therapy. But the worst, the very worst for an amputee is when you realize that every day for the rest of your life, you will have to put on a prosthesis, and mine never seems to fit. I was in despair. I found myself mourning for my lost leg. No more sports, no more running, ever. I was the captain of my high school and college lacrosse teams, for goodness sake. I was feeling sorry for myself, and I'm angry. Angry. I'm so angry, I almost don't hear another voice inside me. Maybe God's voice, and it says, Farley, you never could run anyway. It's true, I had to laugh. I never was a great runner. So right then and there, the dark cloud lifted, and I knew I'd be okay. When I lost my leg, I lost who I was. I had to find a new meaning in order to go on. It was time to do something with my life. I went to law school, became a litigator with the Department of Justice. I married a wonderful gal. We had 4 kids. But I still couldn't let go of Vietnam. It haunted me. Nobody wanted to know how we fought and bled for this country. And that hurt deeper than my wounds. Nobody wanted to listen. And then a friend did listen to me. And he encouraged me to try skiing. What a revelation. I could ski on one leg. It might seem a little thing, but for me, it meant the world. 5 years later, I start teaching other amputee vets to ski. And when one of them masters a slope, it's a triumph for both of us. I've realized that helping disabled veterans is my calling. I become the first judge in Federal Court of Appeals for veterans' claims. Their stories of struggle lead me back to Walter Reed Hospital. For 13 years now, I've walked those hallways, sharing the pain of a new generation of wounded soldiers from Iraq and Afghanistan. I remember one young man trying to cope with his newly amputated leg and arm. I listened to him express his fear and anger. But eventually, he starts talking about accepting a new normal and how he can choose what to make of the rest of his life. Listening to him, I relive my own journey from pain to acceptance. I pray at the bedside of a beautiful young woman veteran whose leg was amputated above the knee and whose arm was hanging by a thread, so heavily sedated she couldn't speak. When I finally leave her, I can only sit in a vacant office and weep. We can't tell our wounded veterans how to heal. All we can do is listen. They will find their own way because of who they are. Brave, valiant soldiers who faced down death. What we can do is listen, validate, provide possibilities, and simply be there. They will sow their own seeds of hope. And then together, with support and understanding, we will nourish that hope into reality.
And now, in tribute to all of our Vietnam vets, the National Symphony Orchestra, under the direction of Maestro Jack Everly, will perform Honor, composed by Hans Zimmer. Please stand now if you served in Vietnam, and remain standing so that we may honor your service and sacrifice.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome General Colin Powell.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm both humbled and proud to be with you tonight as we all participate in this extraordinary recognition of our military men and women. The stories we are hearing tonight reflect their bravery and sacrifice and the vast challenges they and their families face in the aftermath of war. Paula Davis is every parent who has lost a child to war and must struggle to learn to live with that devastating loss. Jack Farley tells us how many in the nation turn their backs on our returning Vietnam veterans and the tragedy of that war. Yes, today's troops return to a welcoming country, grateful for their service, but they too still suffer the wounds of war, physically and emotionally. And there is so much more we must do to help them and their families. Scripture counsels us to heal the brokenhearted, bring joy and gladness instead of grief, and a song of praise instead of sorrow. Just as every fingerprint is different, so is every war story. But there is a common denominator among those who serve in time of war, and that is the deep-seated wounds, often invisible. The scars from war are real, They are devastating, and it's often hard to see a way out. They are part of a veteran's life, forever woven into the very fabric of who they are. Reaching out to our brother and sister veterans, encouraging them to talk about these wounds, is a critical step in their healing process. The more we listen to their stories and allow them to grieve over what is lost, the more they can learn to accept and heal their own wounds. All veterans need to know that help is there. There are places you can go. There are people, dedicated doctors, caregivers, friends, supporters, and loved ones who want to help you overcome your injuries and reach your fullest potential. As we strengthen relationships with our military families and get involved with organizations that help heal injuries of the body, mind, and spirit, the more we heal as individuals, we will heal also as a nation. So tonight, to all of our nation's veterans and to all of our nation's fallen and their families, we thank you and we salute you. Now please, everyone, stand up if you can, and stand up for those who can't. Let's give our nation's veterans and their families the tribute that they do richly deserve. Thank you.